Hello, everybody. Welcome to Follow Everton, and this is the pre-match build-up show for Aston Villa versus Everton. And joining me to discuss all the things ahead of this game, I have two guests. One of them is joining me slightly later on, but for now, all the way from Australia, I have the one and the only Mr. Dave Weston. There he is.
How you
Wes, nice to
doing?
speak to you. How are you?
Oh, all good, mate. All good. Ready to come home, believe it or not.
How long have you been there for now?
4 weeks. We're in our last week.
You're in your last week. I mean, you'll miss it when you're back here, but is it winter over there in Australia?
Yeah, I mean it's been a bit harsh. Some days it's been like 29 degrees.
Poor you. Um, I, I mean, just for the benefit of the England, you're over in Australia where the World Cup's been. I didn't watch it. What was the result?
Unfortunately, the Lionesses were beat 1-0.
Of course, of course. Is there anything? Do you expect anything else than that? Really, that's disappointing.
To be fair, they bottled it
Did they?
massively. They couldn't handle the press from Spain one bit. Every time an England player got the ball, there was like 2 or 3 Spain players around them, and he just couldn't get going. And you've got to
Oh,
hold your hands up and say Spain deserved the win.
Spain outclassed them basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Every time they got the ball, they looked dangerous.
It's a bit of a shame, though, isn't it? But I suppose I've got to be completely honest with you, Dave. I'd much rather Everton get 3 points today than England women win the World Cup. And that's just the way I feel about it.
That goes without saying, right, doesn't
Yeah. I
it?
haven't seen the team either. I'm coming into this quite blind. So if someone in the comments can put the team up for me.
DCL's
Um,
playing.
Starting.
Yeah. With what looks with Decore playing as a false nine behind.
What makes you think that?
Well, if we go by the Sky Sports formation, I know we can't really go by
Mm.
that, but if you go by their formation, you've got like Decore sitting behind DCL.
Well, he's played there last season, hasn't he? That's where he's played. Is the sort of the he's the attacking number 8, but he's more of a 10.
Mm.
You could argue that's where someone like Iwobi, Danjuma could play in that position long term. Decore sees himself as more of a deeper player, possibly competing with Onana and Garner. Thank you very much for putting the team up. I'm just going to bring it onto the screen here. It's from Mr. Blue Skies, one of our regulars, and also, of course, thank you to everyone in the comments watching. Much appreciated. We'll count you down towards kickoff. We normally wrap things up here about 5 minutes before, but I think it's nice, Dave, isn't it, to keep people company just in the build up to kickoff, getting that mindset. So here's the team, Wes. Sorry, that's the substitutions. The starting lineup is Pickford, Young, Tarkowski, Keane, Patterson, Garner, Onana, Decore, Iwobi, Calvert-Lewin. Really? Did you see that before you came on air?
I did. Obviously, I was surprised by Calvert-Lewin starting, and Keane once again starting. I mean, I watched the game last week in Sydney, so it was a 12 o'clock kickoff in midnight Sydney.
Yeah.
And obviously, I haven't got to speak to anybody since that game. But Keane just kept getting dragged out of position time and time again, and he was the cause for the first goal because he was like,
Well, Dave, if you watch it back, he wasn't the cause of the first goal.
he got sucked
Fulham
out from
goal.
the middle, though, right?
I
He
know,
got
but if you
sucked
look at
out.
it, James Garner's way too high up. Amadou Onana, Garner, they're all beyond the position they need to be. They were way too high. And so the defense all got dragged out because of the bad position of the rest of the midfield. It was a collective mess. I think, Dave, that's a bit unfair to single out Keane for that goal. I mean, I'm the first to criticise him, but if you look at it, it was completely dysfunctional across the entire pitch.
All right, I'll take your word for it, but as far as I was concerned, Keane is a centre half. He shouldn't be playing in between the midfield and the defence. He shouldn't be getting sucked out that far when teams are on the attack. That's my opinion.
I just think he had, yeah, okay. I think that was a collective mess. If someone in the comments can also put the Villa team up for us, that'll be great, and we'll share that. But just on the Everton starting lineup for this Aston Villa game, you're looking at Keane still in the team. That's, what does that say about Jared Branthwaite? Maybe Dyche needs to look at him in training over the next few weeks and integrate him slowly before,
Clearly doesn't trust him, does he?
not from the start. I mean, are we waiting for a couple of Keane mistakes to eventually get dropped, and then it becomes? You look at those options though: Holgate, Godfrey, and Branthwaite inexperienced, but it's a worry centre half, isn't it? I mean, I suspect we'll get Maguire on loan on deadline day from United. I can see that coming.
That's being bandied about a bit, isn't it, with the West Ham deal collapsing. But are you jumping out of the frying pan into the fire with Keane and Maguire? You know what I mean? I don't know. How are you going to get to know how good, whether Branthwaite's any good or bad if he's not given a chance?
I think it's a difficult one to chuck him in today against, Aston Villa, who are quite strong, although they did lose to Newcastle. But we did see Newcastle's level, I think, against Man City. There wasn't a lot. There isn't a lot between them. They're a very strong team. Just focusing on Everton just for now before we look at the Villa lineup there. Ashley Young continues at left back, keeping Matali Mikalenko out the team, a natural left-footed left back. And then you've got Patterson, who I thought was probably the weak link against Fulham. Dave, I'd say he was positionally quite poor, and I think he had a difficult afternoon. And of course, he should have scored like many others. But Patterson continues at right back, and then in that midfield there, Garner, Gay, and Onana, kind of the dual eights holding. I think they give you some solidity, and I think they're very good at pressing and winning the ball back and tackling. But you're not getting any creativity there. I want to see Amadou Onana kind of get his foot on the ball and dictate games. And when you see him drive with the ball and actually run at defenders and break lines, he's got that about him, but you don't see it often enough. I think we're going to need him breaking from midfield today, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, everybody sort of gave him a season to bed in and afforded him that sort of luxury. And this is the season now where we need to be seeing the better of him. And from what I've seen last week, it was more of the same.
Yeah. I think he was very good against Sporting Lisbon, but against Fulham, he completely dropped off. I mean, we were the much better team, but we didn't see that dynamic version of Onana that I think we've come to accustomed to in a couple of those preseason games. You also talked about Doucouré. He'll be playing off Calvert-Lewin, you imagine. I mean, this potential setup for a 4-4-2 diamond there as well, possibly, but I do suspect it'll be more of the same. And that means James Garner playing kind of like a right-sided midfielder, being tucking inside. But it's unfortunate, isn't it? I mean, how have we got no wingers available? I mean, I suppose that Danjuma's not fully fit. Jack Harrison and Dwight McNeil are both injured, but it's annoying having to play James Garner out of position in somewhere where, he's not scored goals for us. Neither Iwobi doesn't score goals. Garner and Onana don't score goals. It's a concern, isn't it, Dave? You want really someone in there who's going to be able to bag it. And hopefully, he'll prove us wrong today, but it's not really his best position.
No. Obviously, we're all sort of up in the air with Danjuma as well, because A, we didn't see enough of him when he was at Tottenham.
Yeah.
And B, we seen a flash of him against Fulham. But he's on the bench today. I'd imagine Calvert-Lewin might get an hour tops, and then he'll get brought off.
Well, he played 90 minutes against Villa, so let's get your thoughts on Calvert-Lewin. What can we do to get the best out of him today? Because there's not really anyone who can cross the ball in that team, and he thrives on on players crossing the ball. That's the thing that scares me, really. Although Young and Patterson and Iwobi, in fairness, and Garner, I think hopefully should be able to put some service in for him again.
I was just going to say, Young's got a decent delivery on him. I'm not sure about Patterson. Garner maybe, yeah. But, I mean, ultimately our play is getting service into Calvert-Lewin depends on crosses into the box. And if you can't get crosses into the box, then he's pretty much redundant, isn't he? And he'll get flack on bloody Twitter or Instagram or whatever because he hasn't put a shift in. Well, the lad's been injured for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? So you've got to cut him a bit of slack, like.
Well, I think we will, and I'm going to bring in our new member now. This is, as you know, unfortunately, Jeff with 1F retired. He'd had enough. He said he couldn't cope with the post-match fume, amongst other things. But we love him very much. Wish him all the best. And Chris Goodman has gone off to do some projects personal to him. But big shoes to fill. Robbie is coming to the team now and taking Jeff's spot ahead of this season. Yeah, we're still looking for someone to replace Chris. He's possibly irreplaceable. You know, he's very, very good, but I hope someone in the comments and people watching be interested in getting involved. Drop me a message because we're looking for another host. But Robbie, let's bring him in. Here he is. He's looking slightly miserable. Cheer up. Oh, he's still sorting his angles and his technical stuff, and his Everton kit's on the way. But good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, afternoon. Okay, Wes.
All right, Robbie.
Ryan, the stream wasn't coming through before. Apologies for joining late. It's just like one of those circle.
Oh, not God. Another one.
Fell into Jeff. You don't live by Jeff, do you?
Not at all. Absolutely. I've been testing it all morning, and it's absolutely got 5 stars as soon as Ryan sent me the link. Yeah, the retro kit comes tomorrow. I'm all excited. We've got 24 minutes for kickoff, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit longer if you're watching it on a dodgy stream. But we have to be careful what we say around you, Robbie.
Who watches on dodgy streams? Watch your mouth out, Ryan.
We got to be careful what we say around this guy. Trust me.
No,
I'm not saying anything.
I'm retired. Hands up.
He's got the box on order, probably coming with his Everton kit on Monday.
All the way from AliExpress.
Yeah, something.
I'm saying nothing without my legal representative.
Rob, Calvert-Lewin starts, but the side again, it looks very lopsided and unbalanced. You've got a right-footed left back. You've got Keane at centre half. You've got Onana and Garner as dual number 6s. James Garner on the wing. Decore playing in it still. He says it's his unnatural position. He prefers to play as an 8, but he's playing as a 10. Iwobi considers himself an 8. He's playing left midfield. Calvert, I mean, it seems dysfunctional, but actually, when we played Fulham, we completely battered them. We just couldn't score. So hopefully, if we can continue that and get Calvert-Lewin in those positions where Neil Maupay was, this is a comfortable Everton win now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's face it, the opposition are going to be thinking the same thing. They're going to be saying, hang on a minute, what's all this about? So their analysts will be thinking, no, this is not the way it should be, Mr. Emery. So we're going to surprise them.
That's Dick Emery.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the substitutions here. So you've got João Virgin in goal. You've got Dan Juma, the Tottenham reject there. Neil Maupay, who couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. You've got the Ukrainian prize winner, Ben Godfrey, the athlete with no brain. Jared Branthwaite, who's like a rabbit in the headlights. Tom Cannon, who's meant to be on loan at Preston. You've got the youngster Dobbin, who spent last season on loan at League One, and you've got Tyler Onyanga, who was described by someone in the comments last week as a complete donkey. So your options there, Robbie. Can you give us a more positive outlook on that bench? Who are the game changers on there? And obviously, I was looking very cynically with what I was just saying, but actually, is there any options there? Any game changers? Anyone on there?
When was the last time we had 4 strikers on the bench for starters?
Good point. But actually, I'll bring in Wes on this. Yusuf Chamiti, he's not even on the bench.
Oh, well, have we really signed him? Is it a mystery? I mean,
is he actually part of the? What do you make of that, Dave? You know, not be on the bench ahead of Tyler Onyango. I mean, do you think that's just a case of we haven't got any midfielders on the bench? But then you could put James Garner in midfield if you needed someone in there.
Like Robbie just said, we've got four strikers on the bench. You'd at least maybe drop one of them like Dobbin or Cannon to sort of put it, shoe him in there somewhere and maybe give him 5 or 10 minutes if we're like 10-0 up or something, or when we're 10-0 up. You know what I mean? Because we're absolutely going to destroy this Villa team today. You know what I mean? Positivity all the way.
Yeah. Robbie, though, it speaks volume. You've got a £12 million striker on the bench, and then you young Dobbin, Onyango, and Cannon are their head. Do you think that's just probably a fitness thing? Chimiti needs a few weeks before he can get on that bench and get involved.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks. And you mentioned Danjuma, the Tottenham reject before. We all understand why he swerved us in January, don't we? So now we've got to love him. We've got to bring him on. He loved it at Goodison, didn't he? When obviously Michael Keane scored the equaliser and he was warming up on the touchline. So he said to his agent that was one of the reasons why he fancied coming to Everton, because of the passion. So
he's only human, though, really. I mean, if someone offers you a better job in better circumstances, you naturally would be inclined to take it. And I think now he's looked at the bigger picture and hopefully he can have an impact. You'd like to think, if he can get his fitness up, he's a shoo-in for the right wing or the left wing spot. He'll contribute goals and assists. But I think James Garner is becoming untouchable for the manager. I think he absolutely loves him, and he'll chuck him in any position just to get him on the pitch.
Yeah, we're all expecting. I mean, he's only young. You see the way that Everton are trying to go now with bringing the youngsters through who are potentially sellable assets in the future, as opposed to signing 28, 29-year-olds on £150,000 a week.
I'm 29.
Well, no, but you know what I mean. Like we've had the older players, haven't we? And they kind of didn't work. So now, if you look at what they're trying to do, I think the structure is they're going to bring the young ones through. Like if I say like Brighton, I mean, what have they done? It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? I mean, even Brentford. I mean, look at Brentford at the top. I know we're talking about Everton here, but look at Brentford. I couldn't even name their team apart from Ivan Toney, and he's not even playing in the top of the league. So
it's well structured.
It's achievable if we get the right management and the right processes in place. Have we had scouts? I'm sure we did. They all got sacked or they all bailed. We've just been all over the place. Absolutely woeful. So now we've had to go back to basics. It's going to be a little painful. But I do, at the end of the day, when you're bottom of the ladder, the only way's up, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. Good analogy. Go on, Dave.
The only sort of thing we say there about the bringing through the kids and all that is that, as we probably all know now, Southampton have rejected our £12 million bid for Shea Adams. Now, as an Evertonian, happy days, because we've already got strikers that don't score goals, and we don't need any more.
In fairness, and devil's advocate here, he's got 3 in 3 championship games. He scored 5 in the Premier League last season, and it would have been our top scorer apart from Dwight McNeil. But I know what you're saying.
That's his level, though. Championship is his level. Same as Tom Davies. That's his level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Suspect Sheffield United will go down. Let's have a look at the Aston Villa team. Aston Villa, according to Mr. Blue Skies, I mean, he could be completely winding me up, but he's very trustworthy. He's been on here many, many times. By the way, how interesting. These two people would normally be joining you in the comments there, but they're actually now on the stream. So it shows anyone can be part of this. Follow Everton. Aston Villa saying Emi Martinez, the Rat Man in goal, Matty Cash, Concert, David Luiz. It's not David Luiz, isn't it? It's definitely not David Luiz. Douglas Luiz, same thing. John McGinn, Ollie Watkins, Luca Dean.
Surprising. I got told he was in France last week.
I'm sure he's going to Saudi. Is that Pau Torres, Moussa Diaby, Leon Bailey, and come on. The thing that strikes me about this team, my initial thoughts are decent in defence. They've got hard workers in there. They've got pace. They've got dribblers. You've got a solid keeper, and they've got a goal threat in Ollie Watkins. And I'd probably take a point right now, away from home against a strong team. Let's go to you, Dave. What do you think first and foremost on that lineup for Aston Villa? Where are the threats? How do we contain that?
Threats everywhere. Matty Cash is a threat. Connor's a threat with his height. Watkins is a threat. Dean is a threat from free kicks and set pieces. Bailey's a threat. He's quick, and he's obviously scored against us before. I'm not sure about Diaby or Pau Torres, but Pau Torres, big things are being talked about him. Kamara, I'm not sure about him, so I can't comment. But there's threats all over the pitch.
Hopefully we can expose. Oh, here he is.
There he was.
Hello, Mabsy. What's the atmosphere like, Mabsy? He's got no headphones. He can't hear anything we're saying. What is the atmosphere like?
Loud.
You want to speak?